attitudes in interpreting the behavior of their children. But now we made a very important, we achieved a very important quality result with our course. Of course, it is, we can consider this at a starting point. And I would like to, maybe in the future, to improve the training course with another project. But now we have to conclude this project. Now we are at the final task, the preparation of the final report, and to obtain the approval from the national agency evaluators and national agency assessors. And this is the, and I think that this conference has to take to pay attention to this point, because this is the premise of this is the conclusion, but this is the premise for the work of the final reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Marzano. Thank you very much. Would anybody like to add anything to Professor's presentation?
Okay. If I may, I completely agree with Gilberto when you say that parents, as people undertaking training, are a very special group of individuals with their own expectations. And to my understanding, this project definitely focuses a lot on tasks, on skills, on competencies that are particularly necessary for parents when teaching them, for example, emotional communication skills. From among skills, parents who upbring and educate and protect and support their disabled children, they particularly need skills which are useful for emotional communication. So it is desirable to group and focus more on soft skills than on the hard ones, because they open the way to effective involvement, cooperation, and communication. So I would see that soft skills should be understood in terms of necessary human qualities such as analytical thinking, innovation, creativity, originality, initiative, also critical thinking and analysis. What else? Complex problem solving is necessary. Social influence, the impact of emotional intelligence used in a proper way. Also, individual idea producing. And I would say that this project with training activities gives the way to develop and improve those necessary competencies for emotional communication when teaching parents those emotional communication skills. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Szczurkowska. Would anybody else like to take the floor now? Hello? Okay. I'm sorry, my mistake. I forgot to inform you all that our meeting, as always, is being recorded. I guess you all remembered because nobody's showing your faces, but I have your names, so at least there is a list of participants. So thank you very much. And now Dr. Kawa would like to make a presentation of designing the evidence-based guidelines. I'm sorry, communicating in education of COVID pandemic times. Okay,
Yes.
Panie Marku?
Yes, thank you for giving me the floor. First of all, if I may check if you can hear me. Yes. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, good morning to everyone. Thank you for introduction, Mr. Professor Marzano and dear Dr. Stefania. In this Monday, in Poland, very muggy and rainy. It's a time for closing our very interesting and to some extent innovative project, which of course was quite large if we take into account the stakeholders, and was of course dedicated to families with children with special needs, but was also dedicated to educators. If educators, we think, of course, we mean a very large area of education process, communication to others, and and process of socialization. Of course, we should take into account also circumstances. I think we are in a historical and quite decisive time because of course, COVID-19, but it affects not only technology, not only communication, but I think it affects much largely and much heavily, I would say, because the effects we'll see in next years, not only changing rules of organization, but I think also paradigms in academia, paradigms in looking at many things. So I think it should also put at the beginning that time of in which we are now, time of, I would say, post-globalism, because COVID-19 just undermined that time which we had before. But going strictly to my topic, which I proposed to our friends, to Mrs. Magdalena, about communication, especially communication during the COVID. I think it's also affected our project, because this training platform which we built it, and which we of course shared our contribution to this very interesting platform, when of course the training units were conducted by our educators, our trainers. It's very important. So the core of ours, as Professor Marzano mentioned, the core of our project was based on communication, was based on giving some advices, giving some experiences to others, especially to parents, to educators, to social workers, to social educators. And that's why I decided to share with you some observations, very fresh observations based on my local community, schools community, when all of the sudden teachers had to change the not only curriculum, but also had to change their own methods. They had to, I would say, relate how to get into students, how to find new ways, of course, mostly basing on new technologies. So if you may look at my first slide, there is a short diagnosis, short conclusion, which of course was made before COVID-19 about the changing paradigm that we in education we shift from teacher-centered model to a learner-centered model, to student-centered model. And I think, of course, situation with pandemic only accelerated this shift. Only accelerated because...
Es esmu viena ar sevi. Atslēgšu.
Sorry, there's some on the phone. So this situation with COVID only accelerated this change. Yes. Then look, all of a sudden, also in our countries, because I should mention, this is big opportunity now because of this project. We can compare many angles, many perspectives in Europe because of our partners. Yes, they come from different.
Panie Marku, przepraszam, nie pokazuje pan slajdów, tylko pierwszą stronę.
And now, how about now?
Nadal tylko first page.
Sorry, I received information that my slides are only unstuck. And now, how about now?
Pierwsza strona tylko.
Okay, let me. Still is the first slide? Yes.
Tak. Proszę najechać na drugi po prostu.
Yes, I'm just because in front of me I have second slide where about just this changing this paradigm, teacher-centered model. You don't see it still. About now?
Nie, cały czas jest pierwszy tylko podświetlony. Musi pan kursorem najechać na drugi.
Maybe I will go out of the, because I turn on the showing slides and this should run off.
O, teraz jest.
Yes, can you see it? Okay. Let me go back to, there we go. How about now?
Jest.
Yes. And now?
Jest.
Yes, we have.
Okay. So please, sorry for this short break, technical problem. You see, that's what I started talking about changing paradigm from teacher-centered model, which of course had happened before COVID-19. But now we have situation in which students and teachers at the same time have been put to situation where this situation accelerated only this change. So if we look at this shift, so in this model, learn or student-centered model, teacher becomes less authoritarian voice, we would say, less authority and more facilitator, less mentor, yes, more mentor, more coach, So we had a similar situation in our project when we were conducting the trainings, those units, yes, from platform. We started to share our experience on many topics as we see, and to become more to become more guide. So the teacher's primary task becomes to teach students, of course, was before, but now we start to facilitate students and to encourage them asking questions, yes, pose problems. Of course, I think also in your situation, in your countries, our students now are better prepared to deal with new technologies sometimes than teachers, for example. So, and also this situation of access to many sources, especially the internet, gives this opportunity that students, of course, learning languages, languages, they can explore internet and compare, yes, compare our knowledge which presents teacher, and they can ask or even sometimes they can even put some doubts about presenting knowledge. So I think just closing this slide, this situation with pandemic situation accelerated this change, this shift, that we shift from teacher-centered model to learner-centered model, and also because of new technologies, because of which we were observing in our project. Just to remind you about technology, of course, this is not anything new for you, but today there is variety, yes, and I think especially Professor Marzano can support it, that we are this fastness of introducing new technologies, especially in ICT area, in especially proposing devices which can only not which allows us not only communicate but also exchange the materials, exchange the knowledge. Like in this situation now, we can conduct conference. We can in the same time we can discuss, we can explore and analyze some documents. So just shortly remind you, there's available like cloud services, the Internet of Things, big data, of course, and are more and more artificial intelligence, and as we face in Europe, especially that 5G technologies are strongly introducing, especially by Chinese companies. Now, as I mentioned before at the beginning, I focus on my local Polish situation. In my city, we have around 30 or around 35 primary schools, around 15 high schools, and of course, not to mention about preschools. And I was able to receive data after I think I received data after half of year, around June, which was based on, of course, there was conduct research among our teachers and students, just based on those schools, how they were dealing with situation of COVID. Yes, of course, I mean about situation of distance learning. And in those answers, I hope you can see the slide, most of Polish educators or teachers use form of distance learning of time of during the time of quarantine, and the forms of conduct distance learning has been chosen and mostly they were using like sending tests, sending materials. They were doing just print screens or pictures of work cards and homework assignments. There were, of course, online lessons, but they were limited to 5 or 4 a day, mostly video conferencing. Rather seldom they used learning platforms. In Poland, we still don't have such developed e-learning platforms. They are only belong to particular schools or particular institutions, but we don't have such bigger platforms where, for example, textbooks could be presented and or we call it e-textbooks. And of course, in a small number, there were some platforms dedicated or organized by publishers. A few numbers which can show you or picture you using this new technologies during the distance learning. For example, 92%, almost 93% of the surveyed students declared that they use this form of remote education. So it also shows that almost all students had access to internet or access to using iPhones or smartphones, because in that time of classes they could use and they were connected. Using learning platforms were not too popular solution because only almost 40% respondents, both students and both teachers, declared using this form of distance learning. And as only 6.6% used platforms dedicated to school textbooks. It was caused because, as I told you before, it's still not popular because some publishers only sell sell access to platform, and this is not a large opportunity. That's why only almost 7% were using platforms prepared by publishers of our textbooks. So these are, of course, general numbers. Once again, to remind you, they are based on my local city. This city is, just to give you information, is 100,000 people, over 100,000 people. It's like a middle city in Poland, but I think it shows the general situation in our country, referring to distance learning during the COVID. And also, despite the low popularity of solutions, there were also a solution like offering interesting interactive materials, which students could be attracted or satisfied. And for example, there were very popular internet links. It was better situation than with platforms, because many sources can be found in internet, and of course this is obvious. There are lots of websites not only belonging to education institution, but of course to schools and variety of resources, education resources that can be used and recommended. So there was high popularity of multimedia helpful materials when students were able to download to their own computer and use them. And of course, those popular social media, of course, like YouTube web or other webs which allow to sharing movies, sharing interactive materials which can support distance learning. And in less number, they were able recording lectures. For example, Polish public television was producing, I would say, or providing some classes. At the beginning, they had some problems because of shorting time, and shorting resources. But I think after 2 or 3 months, they found out better model, and those lectures sometimes were followed by students. So even those classical methods like television, classical media, they were also used in the process of education during the COVID. Some of teachers, I would say ambitious ones, were recording their own lectures by own means, and they were sharing. But this was not was not process common. Of course, we had a few teachers by school which were able to doing like recording lectures and sharing for students. Of course, like classes, speeches. We were able to find it in academia more, in universities and colleges, but not in classical education, primary schools and high schools. And of course, social media for communicating, less for education, but more for educating. This is classical method still for exchanging information, and of course, among students. A few information about recording lectures or lessons by hand, which they were published on YouTube in the form of film or some form of distance learning. Was, as I told you before, was also it also happened. Students in those responses of the survey indicate that ability to replay of lecture or lessons is useful in this solution. So one of the, I would say, the most important advantage of distance learning is this individuality. Yes, students, of course, that they are in group, but they can work more in an individual way. I think this is experience which can be also compared to our project, because in our situation of our project, we deal with children with some disorders, yes, with some disabilities, and sometimes this individual path, is more adjusted, or better adjusted in situation of distance learning. Or, for example, for a parent. Parents can, for example, such a parents using our platform, they have access. They can have access many times, or depends under free time, under leisure time, and I think the solution of platform, such an electronic platform, is very useful, especially for parents, for students who can share, or who can split their own time and can use those platforms, those units, depends on their own time. Of course, those external sources which you can also find in our platforms, because just remind you, our unit in ESEC training platform attached some links to the external sources, like films, radio programs, articles, it was a very important component of this training. So there's a recommendation to also just looking at this, backing to this survey which I started. There's big recommendation to unify the remote education system using like Microsoft Teams, which we are just using, because still better and better technology gives opportunities not only to exchange information, but we can exchange materials, presentations, movies or music. It depends on the curricula. Still high recommendation to use such I would say multi-instrumental application, which allow to use many new technologies and resources. So closing, just I think I ran out my time. Just short conclusion. Our project was deeply, I would say, deeply embedded in new technologies, and it gives. That's why we would able to finish this project in such difficult circumstances, difficult conditions like COVID, like pandemia, in many your countries. Our partners, the quarantine was very strict, and it didn't affect our project, our that heavy, of course. It didn't destroy it. Task of our project, because this project was deeply based on new technologies as platform, as possibility to exchange information using Skype or using Microsoft. And I think the best example that we are today closing by this conference using Teams application or others. This is the best example showing that there is a future for projects. Yes, new technologies. Maybe new projects heavily will be conducted and completed or in 50%. Using new technologies of communication, especially. Of course, meetings are very important. We know it, especially we partners. We know it that once a while we have to meet face to face because it's a human necessity. But there's a conclusion that this is a future for also European, for Erasmus projects, new technologies. So thank you for giving me the floor and time for sharing those few conclusions and reflections.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kawa, for a very interesting presentation. Would you can delete it now from sharing with us your slides, and would anybody like to comment or add anything to Dr. Kawa presentation? Anybody? No. Okay, so considering that the time is running, I would like to ask, if possible, include to please take the floor, Professor Damaskinidis, if I pronounce your name properly.
Yes, Damaskinidis, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I was afraid.
Good morning from Greece and Include. Unfortunately, director of Include, Ada, could be present in this online meeting, but she will appear tomorrow. So I will give you a short presentation of our part. A moment to upload. Can you see the presentation, the slides?
Yes,
Yes, we can.
yep.
Okay. Of course, I would like to begin that it will be much better to be all in person in Poland, but to have to adapt and survive this new situation. From our part, we have to responsible for the ESEC training course and the need for evidence-based guidelines in this Erasmus training course, which address to special and social educators to expand their skills in supporting parenting intervention for childhood and behavioral disabilities. I will skip some information so as to be as concise as possible. It's of great interest that all this kind of differentiations each country proceeded, the reasons of this, what was the result of these differentiations, and the teaching methodology that was used in each country under this COVID-19 condition. We're responsible for had some useful recommendations for clinical practice in Europe, and some new ideas about special and social educators in Europe. Our methodology incorporated a systematic search for evidence after the implementation of the ESEC training program. We evaluated the quality of that evidences and to espouse recommendations based on the best available evidence. The methodology includes sent guidelines concerning the structure of the evidence-based guidelines to all ESEC partners, the content and content organization of the course, which learning units have been selected to be taught face-to-face, and which from individual learning and why, in which order did you use the ESEC course material, and what content adaptations we did in order to meet of course, our participants' training needs, difficulties, encounter and solutions, the organizational issues and strategies, the methodology, the teaching learning modality, the difficulties encountered and solutions, the evaluation, the method, process, tools and results of the knowledge evaluation and method, process, tools and results of the training course evaluation, bibliography and annexes. The outputs from Eco Instituto RTA Mantra and include, I would like to add at this point that we haven't yet got the guidelines from Poland. That's why we haven't sent the full report. So I take the opportunity to remind Poland, or if you have sent it and we haven't got anything. Maybe at the end of the presentation, we could discuss this. All partners managed to implement the training course, although the COVID-19 pandemic raised many problems. Due to the lockdown restrictions, changed the face-to-face modality to distance learning and e-learning. And although they have changed the modality, all partners preserved the original structure of the training course. The participants was 25 or more social educators and social workers in each country. They were organized specific learning units of the ESEC programs translated into national languages according to the special social educator needs in each country. Learners worked in groups to apply the acquired knowledge. There were some self-assessment methods to evaluate the acquired knowledge of the participants. In the guidelines, participatory learning that was used as a teaching methodology of ESEC training course proved to be effective for active participation, teacher-learner interaction, peer-to-peer interaction, and various audiovisual materials in the form of video-based activities, case activities, and self-evaluation tests were constantly encouraged participants to be actively involved in all the activities. The establishment of an online environment where the interaction between the trainer and the participants and between the participants themselves is active and continuous, supplemented with suitable learning materials, is the key feature for any distance learning program. All family support actions, as well as those related to parent and parent education, must be placed within a country's national, regional, and local planning framework. This must become a responsibility of the whole community, of course. Quantitative and qualitative data from the final evaluation are encouraging concerning the content and methodology if the training course that was developed under the cooperation of partners. Sharing experiences and inventory practices, the argument in support of analysis of the national context was also considered to be critical when implementing a successful practice in one location and adopting it in another. And digital skills could be a parameter of inequitable that prevents participation. That means that all the participants need to be on the same level of digital literacy. Effective interventions should be based on parental needs analysis and targeted at particular groups of parents. The focus could also be given on basic academic outcomes and on training in parenting skills. Parents are in need of specific and detailed guidance and understanding of the program and what they are expected to do when participating in them. Main outcomes of such a program include parents acknowledging that a problem exists, gaining knowledge and skills to manage children's behavior and confidence, and empathy to use these skills effectively. And a supportive, non-judgmental approach is most likely to lead to a parents internalizing and using tools provided by a program aimed at supporting parenting skills. This is the end of our presentation. I skipped, it was a bit quickly to skip through the presentation because we're behind the schedule a bit. And I'm at your disposal for any questions. Or...
Thank you very much, Professor. Would anybody like to comment or ask anything? Hello, anybody? Professor Marzano, would you have any comments to this, or shall we proceed to?
I think that our colleague from Include resumed very well our training activities and synthesized the content of the guideline of the handbook and the recommendation that is the final output of our project. I think that I can underline again that this project was important since in a period of coronavirus we changed the way to realize our training, but we didn't change the strategy, the contents, and it was very important. We balanced distance learning with e-learning, and we prepared the learning units for e-learning, but we changed the face-to-face learning with distance learning. I can also say something about the experience in Italy. In Italy, we decided to split the training course in two sessions, since to teach a lot of people at a distance at the same time was very difficult for the participation of our learners. Since this project was one of important characteristic aspect of this project was participatory learning. We decided to split into session the training course. It was a burden for the teachers that had to double their effort, but we was very happy because we
Participatory learning to jest taki face to face, tak?
No tak, taki współuczestniczący.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
yes,
I'm sorry. I was just asking Dr. Szczurkowska about explanation of one word. I'm sorry. I didn't mute my mic. Sorry, Professor, for this interruption.
I think it was maybe you kept this training course face to face. I think it's not a problem for us. Was impossible because the lockdown in Italy was very strict, and we had to do the training course at a distance, and but we balanced learning units, so e-learning and the distance learning. But this is our experience in Italy, I think, and we put in evidence this in our report for the handbook. But I think that we can take this is maybe an opportunity in the future to organize training courses at a distance to balance the activity of e-learning and distance learning, and to limit the number of learners if we want to apply a participatory learning approach. Only this is my this is my reflection about the speech of our colleague of Include.
And if I may add something that exactly, it was a great opportunity, despite this problem and of this COVID-19 situation, to change something, to move from a face-to-face learning to distance learning, something that maybe wouldn't have done otherwise. So it is, at least for, let's say, training purposes and for a future program, to integrate distance learning, of course, in a more constructive way and in a more organized way next time, because we will have been prepared.
Yes, I completely agree.
Every cloud has a silver lining, so I think we can, we did try to take this opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, professors. And now I would like to invite Professor Irena Zogla. Are you with us? Hello?
Yes, please.
Good morning, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
So can you see me?
Not really, no.
Not yet.
Not yet.
What's now?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, hello everybody. Aha, kāpēc tu mani izslēdzi? Kuku. No. No, it's good. Yeah, it's okay.
Mēs jūs neredzam.
Yes, jā, tūlīt redzēsiet, viss kārtībā. No.
Ir.
So, do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Do you see the presentation? So, all right, first of all, thank you for cooperation in the project. It was one more new experience. And I shall try to concentrate on the main items of the handbook and the theme we have chosen for the courses. So is it okay? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Clear, thank
So,
you.
first of all, we have chosen the theme parenting science, communication with parents. Why parenting science? To show educators who work with parents and parents themselves the system of parenting science, which is combined or synthesized of multiple other sciences and makes something unique. And we wanted to show this unique characteristics of this approach. So positive parenting as a focus on of the courses to show educators and parents that this course can be focused on positive effect of all this. And we found that communication with parents is one of the most complicated items when we work with parents, and they themselves also find it complicated. So that's why we have chosen parenting science and communication. The items are chosen for discussions according to the parent most attended questions. This is communication as and parents' integrated roles, peculiarities of communication in the digital age. Here I would like to comment what Marek told. I can agree with every his word said in favor and not so much in favor of modern technologies. It is
thank you so much, Professor.
the pleasure was all mine. It's sometimes we cheat technologies. In their turn, technologies cheat us. So even today, I couldn't, for a long time, I couldn't get a connection with you. So another item, sub-item, behavior evidences. And definitely we wanted to show self-evaluation and evaluation, both for educators and for parents. You know that in educational courses, we always deal with two layers. We work with educators who later will work with parents. So these two layers to help educators so that they can help parents, and it's not so easy. Some contexts of the communication content. Definitely these are current processes and they are reflected in the 3 documents we have submitted as handbook, suggestions and so on. Educator and parent needs, these have to be investigated constantly and updated. Digitalization and how this is perceived by parents, children, other people related to these affairs. And impact also of the pandemic. We couldn't do without this. So the focus of the prepared by ESEC program is communication, the most important, complicated, and effective activity in families, in family education. So the course consists what we submit for the handbook of several sub-themes. These are suggested and optional activities to improve the educator knowledge and skills that are necessary in cooperation and communication with parents, items for educator autonomous learning, discussions to exchange views and generate new ideas, tests for self-evaluation and evaluation of communication skills, like conflict solving, reflections on the content, and so on. The prepared didactic materials provide opportunities of using as they are suggested, if one likes, for modifications, if educators or parents like. These can be selected from the suggested amount or number of the activities, and also can be added by new of this program took place twice last year. The first draft program definitely built mainly on the needs that are common for Latvia, closer to us. And after the courses, the participants had been recruited on volunteer basis. And after the course, we improved spring, and final improvements with the accent on parent educators option and self-learning have been completed, and the program submitted for the handbook. So several focuses of the evidence-based guidelines. First of all, we could hear the parents' suggestions, needs updated, the content providing the educators opportunity to master their competence. So the program points this out so that they themselves have to work, have to do activities under the educator's guidance, and then they will reflect on what they have succeeded in. The content is focused on the qualities appropriate for implementing positive parenting on the background of communication. And usually traditional communication course includes theoretical, some practical activities, and so on. This time we added one more chapter, which is almost new. That's called active listener. We realize that usually the educators and also parents are good speakers, and they are not so good listeners to their kiddies, as well as sometimes educators are bad listeners to their students, and so on. Some evidence-based recommendations in very, very brief form. Introducing this course of positive parenting, of communication in the positive aspect, is just the starting point of preparing qualified assistants, educators for work with parents. It is an introduction, so that was our feeling. Paradigm shift or mindset changes should be reached. Otherwise, it is just the course or knowledge and sometimes even skills somehow stand aside of educators and parents. They know about them, but they don't know how to use. And leading to or focused on positive parenting. Definitely, if no changes in educator and later parent thinking, so that is not long-lasting enough education, that means it might disappear. And the note just says that the most of the content is forgotten if the appropriate practice doesn't follow by implementing ideas short after the classes. Evidences even between the two approbation sessions tell this 1 year in between already we state forgotten items. Detailed considerations generated by the project in Resetne can be found in the handbook with the didactic materials all through the program, also in recommendations and guidelines. Thank you, colleagues, for cooperation. Be healthy.
Thank you very much, Professor Zogla. Would anybody like to comment, ask maybe some questions?
Okay, I would have a general remark regarding parents as adult learners. I have a feeling that parents as adult learners usually need to know why specific knowledge is necessary for them before they decide to learn something and to acquire this knowledge. In the first place, this is my observation, they look for the practical use and implementation of the teaching content. They very rarely choose some kind of unnecessary courses of training, let's say. They give a particular emphasis on their own decisions, and we can name it self-direction, for which they feel responsible. So they do not expect to be offered advice or a set of hints that are provided by teachers to school learners. They are different people. Parents' motivation to acquire a new knowledge leading to skills and competences is driven by a strongly desirable goal of coping with real life difficulties or life problems. And at the same time, their motivation can be also connected with a sense, I would name it a sense of self-esteem. So this causes a variety of problems, but we can always try to surpass them and to achieve a desirable goal as trainers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Strukowska. Professor Zogla, would you have any comment on this?
No, thank you. It's all right, and this is right. Definitely, parents as well as teachers and educators like practical classes most of all, and so we also try to make the program as practical as possible with optional possibilities and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to suggest, because we should have break, 15 minutes break scheduled at the moment, but maybe in order to catch up with time, we should proceed with our meeting. Please, I need your opinion. What do you think, everybody?
We can continue.
Yes,
Okay.
to continue, yes, it will be better.
Yeah, okay, great. So thank you very much. Joshua, if you are ready with Manra, please take the floor. Thank you very much.
Yes, okay, we are ready to start. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen first of all. Okay, so can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
Okay, great. Now?
Not yet.
You can see it now?
No.
No, not yet.
You don't see it?
No.
Oh. I will try again, sorry.
Okay, take your time. On the first meeting that will take place in Warsaw, I certainly hope. Oh, here we see you. I will
Now?
make the presentation on paper. Yes, thank you very much. We see you.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
Okay. So, well, before starting with the achievement and outcomes presentation, well, thank you all for the cooperation of all partners in this project. It has been a pleasure to work with all of you in the ESEC project. And well, first of all, regarding design recommendations, we would like not to enter into more details, but explain a little bit about this part. From UNRWA, we have prepared the chapter, as you know, about emotional and social skills, which is based on the development of our training course and specifically on the family disruption and emotional interaction, introducing also the active listening issue. And as you know, for the design recommendation from UNRWA, we have made a compilation. We have collected all abstracts of each partner, and we have unified it in a same document. So we inform you that this document will be sent to all partners after the conference in order to accomplish with our duties. And by this way, all partners can observe and contemplate the different recommendations that have emerged on the organization of our respectively training activities, which are very similar and also illustrative among them. But now we would like to focus on our presentation on the intellectual output 3 achievements and outcomes by presenting the results of the ESEC project and evaluate its impact in our country. So let me put full screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so regarding this presentation from UNRWA, we are going to explain the achievements and the outcomes according to the project impact evaluation. So therefore, in order to observe this issue, UNRWA submitted a questionnaire to a panel of 10 stakeholders to evaluate the impact of the ESEC project. And these stakeholders responded to the questions anonymously. So in the first item, as you can see in the figure 1, respondents, specifically stakeholders, declared that the project satisfied their expectations. The 50% evaluated as extremely, and the other 50% evaluated as very dissatisfaction of their expectations on the ESEC project. Figure 2 show that respondents evaluated positively the ESEC project topicality. The 70% evaluated as high the topicality of the ESEC project, as you can see in the picture. And regarding the figure 3, it shows that respondents positively evaluated the project outcomes. The 70% evaluated as very good the ESEC project outcomes, while the 30% evaluated as adequate. Then also most of the respondents claimed that parent training is extremely important for educators. The most part of them have evaluated as extremely the importance of parent training for an educator, and specifically the 70% of them, as we can see in the picture, as a result of the project. Also, in addition, respondents, specifically in this graphic, the parents, agreed on the usefulness of the project. Like 50% claimed that it was extremely useful, and the 50% claimed it was very useful. So we can conclude that we have a good result regarding the utility of the ESEC project. Also, regarding the educators, they have evaluated the importance of the ESEC project positively. Almost 70% claim it was extremely useful, and 30% affirmed it was very useful for educators, especially. So they all, and also the partners, as we have seen before, agree with the utility of the ESEC project for the education of their children. And also, finally, we can see in the figure 7 that the ESEC project has been found to be extremely very useful among many respondents for children, especially in this case with behavioral disturbances. So in order to try to conclude, we can see that the ESEC project satisfied the expectation of participants, such as parents, educators, volunteers, and the stakeholders. Participants evaluated positively the topicality of the project, and also they have evaluated generally the ESEC project outcomes as good results, almost the 70% of respondents. Participants also affirmed that parent training is extremely important for the educators. They have claimed too that the ESEC project has been really useful for parents and also for the educators. And finally, the ESEC project is considered to be very useful among many respondents regarding the children with behavioral disturbances. So maybe this synthesized the main ideas and the results or outcomes of the ESEC project in Spain regarding our training activities and the impact of the project in our country. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention and for your cooperation in the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joshua, for your very good presentation. Has anybody would like to add anything? Ask Joshua question? Professor Marzano, maybe? No? Okay. So since Joshua has mentioned the questionnaire, we would like to present the questionnaire that Janusz Korczak University is going to prepare. Dr. Kaba, would you like to present the questionnaire, and I would try to share it with you, with us. Panie Marku?
Okay. Yes. So, Ms. Magdalena, could you also reveal on the screen? Let me before go into. Of course, we are open for your ideas and comments and suggestions. My idea was to generalize in general way, to evaluate the most important our activities in these projects. So of course there's around 9 points.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the questionnaire? Okay.
Yes, you can see it. So wait a second, just 2 seconds. I need, my computer is all stuck. And, Magdalena, can everyone can see it in our screen or only me?
One moment, because I'm afraid I've lost it. One second, I'm sorry about this. I just lost it. Check this.
So maybe I will try to share, but I don't know if you see it from my
Proszę
profile.
spróbować, bo mi to po prostu spadło gdzieś.
Yeah. How about now?
Nie.
No.
O, już mam, panie Marku.
May I start? Yes.
Tak.
So as I started to mention, there are almost 10 points referring to evaluate our project. Some of them are just strict questions. Some of them are, I think, just going slowly. 2 of them are descriptive. So they require from the questioning person to ask in more descriptive way 2 or 3 sentences, but it's up to you. Of course, it's open idea. But starting from the beginning, of course, we can think should it be anonymous or should person reveal data? I mean names, first name and last name. Of course, the organizer or partner which is identified with, and of course date. Those general information, if they are required. And then we go to the first question about the expectations. Of course, we can start from the direct question, did the ESEC project meet your expectations? And strictly questions, not at all, partly, fully, in excellent way. And if such a person wants to share some more opinion about expectations, she or he can do it. The second question is about how user-friendly did you find the materials? I mean, mostly platform training units provided with Project ESEC. And I focus only one question about training units because we had different questionnaire, evaluating questionnaire about the handbook. I mean, not handbook, but about platform training platform units. So I thought that maybe only one question can be dealing with training platform. Third question is consists of minor questions to get more detailed information from the, detailed feedback from the person who is going to fulfill. So question is, how do you rate the delivery of presentations and materials of parent training program with respect to the following? Sorry, the third question also is referring to training platform, but this more referring to the program, to the content. So subject of units, unmet expectation, suitable or right or perfectly useful. Next sub question is, online learning has been organized to be really effective. If opportunity to be involved in training process took place, or information on how to manage online materials, and how well did you feel your expectations were met. These sub questions are not typical questions. They are some claims. Yes, do you agree or not? Do you agree that you had opportunity to be involved or no? So kind of yes or no idea to put the question to those sub questions. So sorry, this third question, part of question is referring still to the parent training program which we put on platform. Going next, it's also a question with sub questions. How do you rate the elements of the projects? So this base question, I would say, is referring to some structure elements of projects, vibrant, I would say, elements like quality of materials and documents, forms of communication and interaction with partners, expertise of subject which were delivered, how tasks were carried out, how achieved goals and satisfaction, and dissemination strategy and activities, and implementation activities. And these sub questions are, of course, are waiting for 4 answers, 4 options to qualify them. And there is an optional question which is closing those sub questions. Can you find any elements of innovation with the project? So we give the person who is going to complete this questionnaire we give them opportunity, but maybe not everyone, but maybe there are some people who will figure out some innovative elements. That's why I put just on a optional this question about innovation. Of course, our project basically is not called innovative project, but I think there are some small elements which could be taken as innovative. Sixth question is referring to outputs. Have outputs of the project have been completed? So also three options to estimate. Next question 7. Has there been any elements? Sorry, have been there any elements or aspects of the ESEC project which need to be changed or improved? This is also kind of descriptive question. That's why we give opportunity for a respondent to if he or she sees any elements which need to be enhanced or improved, he can enumerate just below the question, below the strict answer. The next 8th question is also about enumerating. Please enumerate which of skills or competencies of educators may be improved after going through the ESEC project. So this question is referring to skills and competencies which were proposed to evaluate and to follow. And questions number 9. Also, please enumerate needs of parents of children with behavioral disabilities which may be improved after going through the project. So this question is referring to the effects and results. And the last question, are there any comments? Are there any other comments you would like to make about your participation in the ESEC project? So the last question is totally open. It's our the idea was to share some general or maybe some particular experience or reflections which were not included in the previous questions. That's why I put the last question as a totally open about the reflection, general reflection on your participation in project. So these, as I can put, these are kind of proposal questions. It's still open. We can change it. So that's why sorry for some small incorrections here, which I just found out. So I'll be happy if you can refer to this proposition of evaluation.
Dr. Kawa, thank you very much for presenting us with the questionnaire. Would anybody like to add anything?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, so we will finish it up, put it in a nice, I don't know how to say, layout, and distribute to all the partners.
Sorry, Magdalena, of course,
yes.
I'm going to brush out to clear up a little bit graphic and of course some maybe letter mistakes. So of course we'll be in better shape after brushing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Kawa. So would anyone like to take the floor in order to discuss the evidence-based guidelines implementations or handbook recommendation implementations? Professor Marzano?
No, I think no, I don't know, because I read the result of partners, and I think that guidelines and handbook respect the guidelines and respect the project requirements. If somebody would like to comment them, of course we are open to listen to them. But I have nothing to add indeed.
okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Anybody? Any comments, questions, maybe? Professor Damaskinides, I would like to say that within next few days, Janusz Korczak University will provide you with the guidelines. We are very sorry.
Thank you very much.
Very sorry for the delay. It's just a few projects have been clustered and just this delay.
So, yes, okay. Thank you very much for the
Couple of
information.
days. So sorry about this delay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so if nobody else is going to comment, I guess everybody's a bit tired of 2 hours conference sitting. I would like to thank you all very, very much for participation in today, for your commitment and for your presentations. Thank you very, very much. And I suggest that we finish up for today. And I will send you the invitation for the meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central European Time, means for Lithuania and for Greece. I'm so sorry, for Latvia and for Greece at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, yes.
And tomorrow we shall discuss the dissemination plan and further, like summing up and closing the project, and I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. Okay, so I would like also to ask you, please, to send me the presentations, Professor Damaskinides and Joshua, because I already have the presentation of Professor Zogla.
Okay, Magdalena, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you very
much. Professor Marzano, anything at the end of today?
No, anything. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so thank you very much and see you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Have a
See you
nice day.
tomorrow.
Have a nice day. Thank you very
Have a
much.
nice Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Dziękujemy Pani Magdo.
O Boże, dziękuję.